enthusiasm in the community for birds through conservation, research, and public engagement. So first, we're going to talk a bit about bank swallows, what they are. Who is already familiar with the bank swallow? Right. Okay, perfect. So if I get any information wrong, no, I didn't. No, I'm just kidding. So a little bit of background, just very quickly about myself, how this sort of project came to be. So when I was down in Florida and I was working for Audubon, Florida. And so my title was Shorebird Program Manager. And so what I was doing down there was I was not only monitoring nesting shorebirds in Pinellas and Sarasota counties. This included Fort DeSoto County Park, if any of you have been down there to bird. So we monitored the nesting, but the important part of the nesting was that they were nesting on incredibly popular beaches. Pinellas County was the most densely populated county in the state of Florida, and a lot of people were coming to the beach to enjoy it, especially during the summers. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. Everybody loves Presque Isle, right? So when we were down there, we were also doing stewardship. There were a lot of people coming to our beaches. They did not know much about the wildlife. They were just there to enjoy the sun and the sand, similarly to what our visitors are doing here at Presque Isle. And unfortunately, sometimes those interactions between the birds and the people were not very positive. So I was thinking, well, we are seeing that sort of interaction between people and the bank swallows here at Presque Isle. I wonder what we could do about that. So first and foremost, let's talk about bank swallows. We have multiple swallow species here on the peninsula. So we have these, the cutest. All of these pictures that I found are just incredibly adorable. I do not have any photos that I took myself because these birds are so hard to take pictures of. They're so small, so fast. But they have this white belly and chin, this charcoal brown gray head, throat stripe, and the charcoal gray back as well. And they have these teeny tiny little legs, this teeny tiny little bill. The flight feather and tail feathers are a deeper gray to black. And of course, juveniles are going to look fluffier and a little bit more faded looking until those adult breeding feathers come in the next year. I'm going to play this. I don't think I'll be able to play the sound, but look up the sound. It's their call is very distinct, a lot of chittering when they are going back and forth to their cavities and foraging on the wing. Okay, just some comparison species. So we have our bank swallow, we have our barn swallow. Those barn swallows have more of that rusty orange color and that beautiful blue back. The tree swallows have that full white belly and that beautiful blue back as well. And then the purple martin, this is the best photo of the purple martin, female or most likely juvenile that I could find. Not as elegant looking as the others, but those are going to have that whitish belly, but they're going to have more of that purple blue, and also their bill is definitely a different look than our other swallows here. But that bank swallow is going to have that nice squared off tail, and again that distinctive white breast and white chin with that charcoal brown breast stripe. So their habitat, they are present on almost all continents. They're not called bank swallows in some of the other locations. And of course, I'm blanking on what they are called elsewhere. Does anybody know?
Sand martin.
Thank you, Chris. Yes. Okay. So on other continents, they are referred to as sand martins, but they are the same species. They're just very widespread. especially across the United States. They live near bodies of water and they like open areas. They would like open areas so that they can look out for predators, but also so they can better forage on the wing for these small insects. Okay, so just a little video from a couple of years ago at one of the sites. So you can kind of see, of course, we'll restart it. This is from one of our interns a few years ago. What? There we go. No sound here, so if you aren't hearing anything, there's no sound. But you can see them flying back and forth, and out over the water where they are disposing of any trash or fecal sacs from their young or capturing insects out there. So they catch prey primarily in flight. They can land and capture insects, but they're looking for, any sort of small insect that really fits into that bill. So any flying or jumping insects, so bees, small flies, wasps, even ants. But they can forage alone or in groups. Some of them will, from what I've seen, it depends on the wind factor. So if it is really windy where their colony is, they will move to a less windy area to forage. So we have come across the colonies where we're in the middle, getting toward the beginning of the season, middle of the season, and we are not seeing any birds. And we're thinking, oh my gosh, what is going on? But then we realize, oh, it's pretty windy out here. So they're not going to be as efficient at foraging if they're having to fight against that wind. So they're moving to some other locations, likely just on the other side in the Bay Area, to forage. A little bit easier to do so. So this is very interesting and some fun behavior that I recently learned. So just a side note, bank swallows are a very new species for me. So I've done a lot of learning this year with these birds. But the nesting and mating behaviors are what I find just really fascinating for any species. So as we know, they nest in colonies along these sandy cliffs, these banks, these bluffs, near water. Males will show up first at these sites. And so they will use those little legs and dig out cavities. So I've had this question before, will they reuse cavities from the year before? I'm not sure, but what I've seen is that these cavities pretty much fill in over the winter just from storms and wind, and I think they just have to redig them out every season. So the males will show up, they'll dig a burrow with these little legs, these wings, and then the females will show up and they decide who had the best cavity or the cavity that they like the most. So she'll hover in front of that burrow, check things out, decide if she likes it or not. And then if she does, if it's good enough, if it's to her liking, she will choose that nest site and therefore choose that male who made it. Of course, in the female's mind, the better the cavity, the better the burrow, the higher quality that male is going to be. Therefore, those chicks are going to be nice and strong and healthy. And so this is a really nice close-up. This is not one of our sites, but I just thought this was a really cool photo that we could see where not only are there the cavities that are right in that side of the bank, but you can see some of that vegetation hanging down too. They'll use some of this vegetation, these roots, and they'll take those and use that inside the cavities to make their nest. So speaking of nests, these nests are just flat. And I do have a picture to show you. So they will bring in the nesting material and create this just little mat, this flat mat to lay their eggs on. And these eggs are just very small, tiny white eggs. But these cavities extend like 2 to 3 feet into the bank. And this is for protection. It's going to take a lot more effort for a predator to get to that nest if they have to go 2 to 3 feet into it instead of just, reaching right inside. But these nests 2 to 3 feet into the bank, and it ends in this little nest chamber where that flat mat of nesting material is, and they lay those eggs. So I know it's very grainy, but this is typically what it would look like, just a little cutout of it. And just a side note, if you in the audience at home or here are very handy, I would like to make one of these and have it on display for education. So if you are handy, if you're artsy and you would like to make like a little diorama, that would be fantastic, because I think this would be a really cool thing for people to be able to see. I am not artsy in any way, shape, or form, so I would give you this and say, go for it. But this is what it looks like. And this, when they're going into those cavities, this is what you're seeing, or what they are seeing. And this is it. This is the nest. So it's just like I said, that flat mat. It's just to be able to keep that egg safe and secure, not sitting directly onto that sand, and keeps the eggs a bit warm, even if they're off the nest. But they'll come in and incubate these eggs. So this is not a full clutch. This is just one egg of I think up to 3 or so. So why do we care about these bank swallows? Why are we really looking into, setting up this program? Why, what's the point? Well, these are just some of the various conservation statuses. So Partners in Flight says they're a common bird in steep decline. For the PA Bird Atlas, they are a priority species. Up through this year, they were listed as a species of greatest conservation need in the PA Wildlife Action Plan. In the new one that is under review, the new Wildlife Action Plan that's under review, they are now bumped down to imperiled. So what does this mean? It means that we are losing numbers quickly. Just across the lake, they've already been under protection in Canada. But here in Pennsylvania, they are losing habitat. They are losing places to not only build these cavities and these colonies, they are, losing good habitat to forage as well, which the foraging habitat, nesting habitat really go hand in hand. They do not go far to forage. Unfortunately, they are being listed as imperiled. However, this can be helpful in what we can do to help protect them. It's stricter laws. So here are some threats to nesting. Erosion. Definitely, especially during those winter storms or even the summer storms, spring storms. Construction. So we can have these nice big banks, but sometimes in times of where we really need that renourishment of the beach, it could affect where those banks are located. Human disturbance, and just bank or bluff collapse. So of course, the thing that we really can have a big positive impact on is that human disturbance. At the very end of nesting season, I came across this, colony at beach 6 on the west side of the beach. And I saw all of these words carved into the bank. I saw multiple burrows that had collapsed. I couldn't tell if they had been collapsed just from being old and any storms that had come in. But there were definitely burrows that had collapsed that looked like there were maybe birds inside, with feathers kind of sticking out. So I was thinking, okay, well, what could we do to help prevent this? And so again, looking at the past work that I have done with beach nesting birds, I was thinking, well, we can try and do a stewardship program. So this is, a very new a new species, a new place for me. How can we do this? So I knew that we had this nesting and sort of disturbance data collected since 2021. There was some inconsistency just based on we were having interns helping us collect this data. And so interns come with different levels of experience. So we just have some missing data here and there, which is okay. It still gave us a really nice picture of what has been going on. The primary colony location is at Beach 8. Disturbances include bank collapse from people walking across the top, and the graffiti, and also people poking sticks into the holes. I noticed that signs and rope are in place from our friends at VCNR, but there's a lot of sign blindness, and people may see that and think, whatever, or the signs fall over, or something happens and they ignore the signage and still mess with the colony. And a lot of the times it's just because people don't know, and that's where the stewardship and the education could come in. So, stewardship includes public education and outreach. It's encouraging people to stay away from the colony. The best way to do that is to answer questions and provide information about what the heck is going on. Because until coming here, I have never seen a bank swallow colony. And so I would have had no idea what all of these cavities in the side of this sandy beach were. So we have to think along those lines. And then volunteer, what we're calling bird stewards or bank swallow stewards, would sit near the colony and answer questions. They would have a vest on, an EBO hat on, and just kind of keep an eye out and almost like babysit the colony, just to ensure that people were being respectful, or if people looked a little bit confused, that somebody was there to answer these questions. And so I have to say that we started very pilot project this year, a little bit bare bones, but we had some really good results. So this is one of the nesting colonies in 2026. And you can see that there were a lot of birds at this particular site, which I believe was between Beach 6 and Beach 7 this year. Also, I just have to give a shout out to Presque Isle Audubon, because one of the attendees to your festival was actually the person who reported the first sighting of a bank swallow coming back and starting to dig out those cavities. So that's the power of birders. So here's what we had going on in 2026. We had our intern, Seth Cohen, going out a couple times a week, which is the most that we have been able to collect this data. We have also had a volunteer going out twice a week as well to collect this data. So we have really great data. And we had nesting between beaches 6 and 7. We had nesting, of course, at beach 8, where that first bank swallow was seen. And we had attempted nesting near the lighthouse. And we also had attempted nesting near, I think it was North Pier. There's a huge pile of sand that's been sitting there. And I say attempted nesting because there was no success out of those. So here are the results. Beach 6 and 7, we estimated about 400 individuals and about 600 cavities. Not all the cavities get used. Beach 8, we had about 150 individuals and about maximum 360 cavities. At the lighthouse, though, remember I said attempted. They started late. They attempted in 3 different locations. Those kept getting hit with big wind, storm. We had maximum 40 to 50 individuals. They started just south of, or just west of Beach 10. And then that didn't work out. And so they moved to this random bank at Beach like 9. That didn't work out because that collapsed almost immediately. And then they showed up at a small bank near the lighthouse. However, they tried too many times, they got too late to nest, and so they just were not successful. The small colony that attempted to nest in the big pile of sand at North Pier, they were not successful because my intern went out one day and found that people had been climbing and crawling all over that sand mound. So none of those nests made it, and they did not come back to nest. And I did not have a slide on this, but now that I'm thinking about it, my intern did see a rough-winged swallow, a northern rough-winged swallow at one of the colonies. They can nest with the bank swallows because they cannot dig out their own little cavities, so they kind of just use what is there from the bank swallows. So that was interesting, but he did not report it again, so I'm not sure if it just left or if it did decide to hang out. But in 400 individual bank swallows, I think it'd be hard to pick out a couple of rough-winged swallows, so especially when we're not really looking for them. So future work, I don't know if anybody noticed what I was holding. If you zoom in, it is a fecal sac. And I'll tell you the story in a minute. So future work, we are building up our stewardship program. So did I not add in, hold on a second. I didn't. Oh no, okay. I missed a slide here for the results. So for these results, our stewardship program, our stewards did a fantastic job. We had about 9 stewards go out. And when I say go out, they went out when they could. We were not very strict on the volunteer schedule. We just wanted people to go out when they were able to talk to the public and do what they could. So we had 9 people who signed up and went out at some point to educate the public. We had over 50 hours of volunteer, which was fantastic. And our stewards were able to educate over 100 different people. And these are people that were either maybe walking too close to where the colony was, or stepped inside of the roped area. And these were people who were walking along the top of the dunes. So like I said, our friends at DCNR did put signs out where they could. Not everybody is going to read them or notice them, but we were able to chat with people, at least 100 people, over those 50 hours. So I think for a pilot program, this is truly a huge success. And we were also able to do a news interview, which was fantastic. And we were also able to do an educational post on Facebook that got, hundreds of shares and hundreds of reactions. So we were really able to reach the public who have been coming to Presque Isle for years and did not know about these really cool birds. So future work, building up the stewardship program because we know it worked. We are hoping to document nest success and failure more intensely with cameras. We are going to work on getting a permit for that because since they are listed, of course, protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, they're now going to be listed as imperiled with the state. So we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and doing things correctly. But you cannot see inside of one of those cavities unless you have a camera. So we're going to see what we can do and if we can check on specific nests throughout the season once a week just to minimize disturbance. What we did find is that these bank swallows are very resilient. And so if there is any sort of disturbance, like us checking with a camera, they are ready to come back as soon as we walk away, which is very great. We are hoping to work with Professor Dr. Jen Houts at Allegheny College so we can collect fecal samples and see what these chicks are eating throughout this summer, the breeding season, and see if that diet changes as these birds age and as the season progresses. And then potentially sampling insect presence near the colonies to see how this matches with the fecal sampling and to see if there are changes in diet because of food availability. So we will be able to, Dr. Houts will be able to, I think, identify insects down to the order and maybe a little bit further down to the family. So that would be really interesting to see. And then that would also help dictate our stewardship program to see the success and failure. Why am I holding this? So we are also currently working with the Regional Science Consortium because they have noticed that there is this weird kind of relationship between what is it? Like a bacteria in the water where they, close down beaches. Like Beach 6 was closed a little bit earlier this year. Well, the bank swallows are nesting right next to it. So they've seen this correlation of where these beaches have been closed due to bacteria levels and where these bank swallows are nesting. I can't say. I would think that it wouldn't have an impact, but with these 400 birds that we're seeing, plus the young, and we're trying to collect these fecal samples so we could send those in to see if that bacteria matched. The only way to do it was to collect poo to test, right? And so we laid out this tarp and we were like, oh, this is going to be great. And then nothing pooed on the tarp. We noticed they were taking the fecal samples, or they were taking the fecal sacs from the young out and then dropping them over the water. So we're thinking, uh-oh, how are we going to collect that? Well, luckily, I saw a fecal sac get dropped right on the shoreline. Didn't think twice, and I just ran. And I got there in time. And so we were able to find a few more of these fecal sacs that we could collect and then take to the RSC And they're going to send that in and see if maybe there is a correlation. Of course, we hope not, but that's what science is all about, trying to find these answers. But now we know how we can collect them for the metabar coding to see what these birds are eating. So sometimes it's really as simple as picking it up off the ground. Well, that's why, okay, someone said a glove next time. I agree. I didn't have those. And like I said, it was a split-second decision. But you can see I have a lot of sand between my hand and the fecal sac. And I had a lot of hand sanitizer on my hand after that picture. All right. Okay, so I know that went a little bit quickly. Again, this is something that I have been learning a lot about while I've been working with the bank swallows this season. So I still have a lot to learn about bank swallows. And also, this was a very pilot program for the stewardship. And this is what we were able to find. And I am thinking that the next season, when we start building up this program and really getting people more excited about these bank swallows that we're sharing our beaches with, we'll have more data and more information for you. But we're truly just getting started. And if you are interested in becoming a bank swallow steward, I definitely encourage you to reach out to me. My email, phone number is up there. You can check out our website to see some of the pictures and some of the other things that we've been doing with these bank swallows. But I mean, truly, the best way to help is to get out there and get chatting with people. So as we start to build up this program, I would love to see you out there. So we can go ahead, wrap it up. This QR code, I think it either goes to our website or it goes straight to the bank swallow page. But I would love to hear any questions. So thank you all so much.
I have a question.
Oh, already, yes.
I just wanted, well, actually, you know what? Let me preface that with a comment. There is a lady in Fort DeSoto who can train anybody on how to yell at beachgoers. We should send everybody to train with her and then bring them back.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have met her. But my question was about that bacteria in the water. Has there been a correlation noticed? Is it positive, negative, or are you trying to establish if there is a correlation of any kind?
Trying to establish if there is. So this is something that that they have noticed. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. So the question was if we have already noticed a correlation in the bacteria, from the bank swallows with the bacteria in the water. And we do not know yet because that sample has not been sent in yet. And this is the first time that a sample from the bank swallows has been collected. And so they will be sending that off, I think, this fall to see. So, but right now they have, the nesting data. We were able to provide that. So, we'd love to just help be able to answer some of those questions. So
they have been successfully fledging despite the beach being closed, etc.
Oh, the bank swallows?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we had successful fledging.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Now, how many fledges? I'm not sure yet. But we were seeing those fledges right at the entrances of the cavities, hanging out and kind of just, holding on and trying to fly and then come right back and yeah, just peeking out like that. So yeah, we definitely had fledges. We're just not exactly sure how many. We also need to figure out how to accurately and efficiently document that. So yes.
They can be birds. Like that many birds taking their people's beds out to the water. They have to worry about the contamination in the water for the beachgoers.
No, I am not sure. I would. Oh, yes, Sue. Oh my gosh, thank you. So the question is, with that many fecal sacs going out into the water, would there be concern for beachgoers swimming in that? With the constant movement of the water, and these birds are not all dropping the fecal sacs in the exact same spot, it's spread out. I would not think that there was a concern where they are nesting. Don't drink the water, yeah. But the water is being closely monitored all the time. So if there ever was an issue, that would be announced. So that's really all that I know.
Could be another good reason to close the beach.
It could be another good reason to close the beach. We don't want to close the beach if we don't have to, of course. I know, right? Oh, you may not want to sit here because, these birds are dropping their poop on the beach. But think of everything else that's going in the water but what we're actually hoping to do is, instead of having to threaten people with poo, we have designed and just got, like the go-ahead, the thumbs up for a new sign that we designed. So we're going to work with the park rangers and everything we will get those printed, and they will put them out for us, and they are sturdier and will be able to withstand some storms and things like that. So hopefully that will be a little bit more educational and sturdier than some of the signs that have been out there already. So
The educational plats.
yeah, and that could be something in the future. Right now, we know that where some of the colonies have consistently been, so maybe at some of those sites. But we'll just see how the beaches change and everything. So I'm a little nervous about doing that because of how permanent those signs are, and what if these birds move. But one day I would really love to do that for sure. Yes.
Just curious, how often do they spray for mosquitoes and stuff to the park? They eat bugs, right?
Yes. How often do they spray for mosquitoes at the park? I do not know that. I don't know the answer. Yes.
Do you know what the average clutch size, how many eggs it nests?
Yeah. From what I've read and the research that I've done, it looks the number of eggs in a clutch. It seems to be anywhere between 3 and 5, although I think 3 to 4 is more accurate from what I've read. Yes, sir.
How do they make these cavities? Can they call someone to come in and dig it for them?
Right. How do they make these cavities? I mean, okay. You know what? I'm going back because look at these little legs, right? But they use these little legs to start digging out these cavities. I would think that they also use their wings to help push some of that dirt out as well. But these are little architects, and they can dig these cavities out, and it's just one male digging out a cavity in the hopes of attracting a female, and he gets it done. I have yet to see a video of that in action, but I would love to see that happening because I'm just amazed. I'm not sure how long it takes. I mean, I don't think they can hold any tools. You know what I mean? Like even little. Right. Yeah, I think they get their little paws dirty. So that's all they need. Yes, ma'am.
I know you said that during the Festival of the Birds in beginning of May,
Yes.
that the first male was seen coming.
Mm-hmm.
How long are they there making the little holes before the females come, and then when is fledging? So I guess what I'm asking is, how long do you have to protect for sure that spot? I know you probably don't want them to collapse all summer long, like leave them there, but
Yeah, right. So the question was, you know, the first male was reported at the beginning of May, starting to dig these cavities. When do we put up the signs in the rope, essentially? When does DCNR come and do that? So that is something that I had to figure out. I had noticed that at another location, just west or south of Beach 10, this little colony, they just seemed to have these cavities and they kept making more, but there were the same number of birds. And so I just was thinking, well, have they started yet? I'm not sure. And then they kind of disappeared and moved. And so I was thinking, well, do we need to wait for them to actually establish? So when I started at Beach 8, for instance, and even, Beach 6 and 7, once we started consistently seeing the same number of bank swallows or even more bank swallows, then I reached out to DCNR and I said, hey, we have X number, at this site and X number at this site. Is this the time now to start putting up these signs? Because they typically do it anyway. So it's usually when they've really established. So I think that was about mid to late May that we put in the signs.
Gone, or when do you think they're done nesting?
Well, I think they really started wrapping up at the end of July, but Bella, did you see any today? No, it's been like a few weeks, right? So
So it's like, the last 2 weeks, I saw a little bit of them, but I
Okay.
saw like a few, but not that much.
okay, yeah,
And
they
this
probably
week I saw here.
okay, yeah.
Today.
Today, yeah. So I think the majority of the chicks had fledged by end of July, beginning of August. And now they have already started to migrate, I believe. So we're pretty wrapped up. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Regarding suitable bank habitat, do you consider talking to the Corps of Engineers to have this incorporated into their bank nourishment?
That's a great question. Again, this is really the first time that, or the very beginning of this more intensive monitoring that we've started doing, but that has been something that has been kind of sitting in the back of my mind for the future, just depending on, what that looks like with the nourishment and everything. Right now, that location between beaches 6 and 7, I mean, they used almost that entire bank between those two beaches. And that's a very nice location for them. And Beach 8 has that really steep bank as well. But it's definitely something that's in the back of my mind to potentially approach them with.
We have some questions in the chat.
Oh, yes.
So, Carolyn wanted to know if they're there right now, and then we also have Mike from Philadelphia tuning in,
Oh.
and he wanted to know what is the best time to observe them here in the area.
Oh, okay. So, first question, are they still here? They're not really hanging out at their colony sites anymore. They're finished up. And when is the best time to observe them? I would say June through beginning of July would be the best time to observe them. That's when they're really going to be active and have those eggs and have those chicks. So there's going to truly be a lot of activity going on.
And Mike also wanted to know if they return to the cavities en masse around sunset time.
That is a great question. I personally have not been out there. My intern did go out and do some evening walks at the colonies, but it wasn't really right at sunset. It was just before. So I'm not sure. Like similarly to, like purple martins at their roosts right now. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's a great question.
And then Clemens wanted to know if there is a higher number this year because they had many more barn swallows where they live.
How many, did we have more this year than in previous years? That is where we really need more of that intensive monitoring. I want to say at Beach 8, we had fewer compared to previous data. Beaches 6 and 7, we had significantly more. Why? I'm not sure. And that's just because I was not here for the previous years of data collection. So I am not sure what changed or what happened between those years. But just from the data that I'm looking at, there was that sort of shift in nesting numbers from one colony site to another. Oh, yes, in the audience.
The predatory action, when I monitored these turns on the beach in New Jersey, the gulls were a problem, the crows were a problem, and then there were mountain predators. Have you seen signs of that?
So there are, we had the monitors checking for signs of, mammalian presence, gull presence. I don't think that there was any sort of behavior from the gulls that was predatory, where they attempted to, attack any nests or anything like that. I don't remember if there were any mammalian predator tracks that we're seeing. Of course, dogs are seen on the beach. They're supposed to be leashed. But that's kind of why we want to do more of that intensive monitoring and look inside of the cavities to see if a nest does fail, are we able to tell why? And maybe that'll give us some answers. But we just don't have those answers right now. Were there any more questions in the chat?
Not at the present.
Okay. Yes.
How far south do they migrate?
That's a great question. That's a really great question, and I do not know. I will say that I do not know. Most of my research I did was just breeding season right now. So are you looking that up right now? Okay, let me know when you find it. Was there another question? Yes.
I was wondering about the percentage. Lake Erie alone here has a tremendous number of places for them to nest. So the colonies out of Presque Isle, just a small percentage of
Yes.
the swallows that are nesting.
Yes. Yeah. I do not know. I know that there are swallows that nest at Erie Bluffs that I've heard. I am not sure where else in the state we have them nesting. But I know that this is likely just a small percentage of what we do have. However, they still are being, they're now going to be listed as imperiled in the state. So that makes me think that there are not as many colony locations as maybe there have been or should be. So, but I'm not sure where those are.
Yeah, to his comment, we had seen a colony like maybe 10 years ago around the lake shore and directly in the bluffs.
Yeah, that's what
which was interesting. But there's also a cliff swallow. Is that in our area? How is that different from a bank swallow? Is that like a different geography?
Chris, would you be able to answer that? Bank swallow versus cliff swallow?
Yeah, so cliff swallows, there are some in the area. They nest on the undersides of bridges, on the sides of barns, and they build a mud gourd that kind of sticks out they're colonial like the bank swallows, but they build a very different, yeah, they're more closely related to barn swallows. But they have a gourd shaped mud nest that kind of sticks out. And it's very different from a bank swallow nest.
So, just quickly for those who maybe did not hear him online, the question was asking difference between bank swallows and cliff swallows, and if we have swallows, and we do have cliff swallows, but they make more of a mud.
I was just gonna say also with the question
Yeah.
with the, where do the swallows winter? According to Cornell, some winter in the very southern US, but others go all the way to South America.
Okay, okay, so cliff swallows make a gourd-like nest that's very made of mud and things like that. So very different nesting strategy from bank swallows. Where do bank swallows go? They can go anywhere from the southern United States all the way down into South America. Probably just depends on the population since they are so widespread. It likely just depends on the population where they winter. So, any other questions? Sue? Yeah, if you have been a volunteer this summer for the bank swallows, please raise your hand.
All right.
So actually, Bella is not just a volunteer steward, but she has been helping us monitor the bank swallows. And now that they're winding down, her work with us is winding down as well. But she has been instrumental in collecting that data a couple times a week. So an extra big hand for Bella, please. But any future stewards in the crowd? Maybe? We'll get you out there. We'll get you out there. And if anything, what we will try to do is have some additional bird walks in the evenings at these bank swallow sites so that you can see them and learn a little bit more and just kind of enjoy the bank swallows as a group. So hoping to do that. Seth, our intern, was able to do that a couple times this year. So the majority of those got canceled because of that. Does anybody remember that smoke?
Yeah.
I'm just remembering that. That was so terrible. So we had a lot of bank swallow walks lined up exactly during that week, which got canceled. So hopefully we can do that again next year. Miriam?
There is one more comment in the chat from home. Carolyn said that the documentation in the first and second bird atlas in PA shows strongest bank swallows presence, I'm guessing, in Erie, Crawford, Mercer counties. So she just looked that up.
Oh, great.
And then in the same first and second bird atlas show for few cliff swallows in Erie County, more in Crawford and Mercer and other counties. So it looks like they're through the mountainous central PA mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But strong presence of bank swallows in
Erie, Crawford,
and Mercer.
and Mercer.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carolyn.
When I was doing the second bird atlas, I found in like eastern Crawford County where I found bank swallows was in like quarries areas where they had, it's crazy. You think they're digging things out, but they're actually creating habitat for the birds.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think quarries would be a perfect location for a bank swallow to want to show up. So, all right. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you. And if you would like something to remember me by, back on the table, there are some bank swallow stickers. So you're more than welcome to grab one of those. So.
And then. Lots on these for pre-rolls.